Let's bring in Steven Ellis. He's our daily Faceoff prospect insider. Mr. Ellis, you put the Yamamoto jersey up because you heard us talking about him. I love that.
I did, yeah. I got that jersey for I want to say $30 at there's like a jersey discount store. I bought a ton of jerseys before COVID. Like I have 80 jerseys. But like the day before everything shut down, I went to the store and there was like I got 4 or 5 jerseys for like $60 total. It was great. I got a Colin White Senators jersey. His career fell off the earth. I got a Cam Talbot Oilers jersey, and I got a Pat Maroon Oilers jersey. I forget what else I got, but a Jonathan Drew and Habs jersey. But yeah,
that's a collector's item too. I love that you put up the Yamo jersey for us. Okay, we're going to talk Oilers rookie camp roster and a few other things. But first, scanning through some other rookie camp rosters, Keith Kinkaid is on the Islanders rookie camp roster. I'm confused by that. Has this ever happened before, or is this like he's 36? I think
he's 35, so very close. The 35-year-old rookie with 12 years of NHL experience makes a ton of sense, right? Yeah, good meme there. Yeah, I guess with him just wanting to keep being involved in hockey, keep being involved. This is I guess a good opportunity. He played on what felt like 40 teams in the NHL last year or in the last couple of years. But I guess the one thing here is the last name I can think of that was a guy who was no longer really a rookie playing in this tournament may have been Spencer Knight, but that was just because he missed so much time while he was off the ice. So I've never heard of this before.
Interesting. Oilers rookie camp roster. Matt Savoie is obviously a big name that everyone wants to see in Oilers threads. He was ranked number 40 in your list of top 75 affiliated prospects. And listen, he has torched the WHL. He has the 1 game of NHL experience, 6 games of AHL experience as well. Are you surprised he's going to this, or do you think he has something to gain from this experience? Or is he just going to go shit on everyone and then come out of it and be like, well, that was pointless?
See, this is the thing. Like last year, watching him play in Buffalo, and he actually got his shoulder injury in the very final game of the tournament in Buffalo, albeit this year's Buffalo tournament. But he was basically the best player in that tournament, and I'm not sure it was entirely close. Like a couple guys in the Sabres looked really good, but Savoie was just on another level. It seemed like magic happened every time he touched the puck, and that's why I love him. He's really good with the puck. I guess a tournament like this, it's new team, go. There's a marketing element to it, right? Get all the pictures of him playing in a game in an Oilers jersey helps, but him just like getting an opportunity to play with some other guys that could be part of the future. I think with him, it's just go out there and show you why you're one of the best players in that tournament, because the Penticton tournament's got a ton of talent, but Savoie is one of the more talented players. But he's also got to prove he needs to have a good training camp if he wants to have a chance to play a bit more games at the start of the season, things like that. So you might as well start the year off with a chance to get real good confidence there.
Yeah, JT's in the chat. Savoie's like 19. Of course, he's going to the rookie tournament. He's achieved nothing. I just think the point is I don't know how much you're going to learn about him by watching him go dominate these guys, but I think you make a good point with the marketing side of it too. So Savoie was the lone Oiler on your list of top 75, and it's obviously no secret that they have one of the lower ranked farm systems in the league. So after Savoie, who's next? If you had to rank them, who's number 2 on this list for the Oilers? Who's their second best prospect?
Well, I will give a shout out to a guy who's not part of this though, but Olivier Rodrigue. I did put him as my 25th top goalie in my top 25 goalie prospect rankings. Barely made it. But in terms of who else to watch here, Beau Akey for sure. Is he going to be playing? I know there's been talk that he isn't 100% healthy. Do you know
his shoulder's not 100% yet? I don't think.
Yeah. So, but Akey is a guy that, I do really like. Obviously you go out there and you see Sam O'Reilly, a name that I think a lot of people were surprised to see him drafted when he was, but a lot of scouts I talked to said, hey, that was a move worth making. I want to see if Dalen Wakely can continue the performance that he had at the OHL last year, where he was just couldn't be stopped. I did see Cotter Clattenburg play for Ottawa in this tournament, or in the prospect tournament in Buffalo last year. That dude was a menace out there. He was so much fun. So he'll be good to watch. And I think, 3 decent goalies there, 3 that could be all interesting to see how they do. So it's an interesting group. Like, none of the prospect teams are bringing their best lineups when you have to take out, guys playing in Europe and guys playing in the KHL. But I think the tournament Penticton is going to be pretty even, I'd say.
Someone asked if Beau Akey is going to be in Bakersfield next year. The expectation is he's going to go back to the OHL for a year. He was banged up, but on that Barrie Colts team, he should be, because I know there was a point where he was kind of suppressed a bit by Brant Clark, but Beau Akey should be like one of the better defensemen in the OHL this year. Is that fair?
Yeah, like I was expecting that last season before obviously he got hurt. So we do know, like, again, when he's healthy, he's a really good defenseman who I think really started to show what he was capable of the end of his draft year. And I thought he just looked so confident at the puck. Like, that's the thing. Like, a player like that who was kind of playing second fiddle to start or at one point in the season, like, it's easy to kind of get lost in that. But I think when he really started to prove to everybody that he could do so many things with the puck, really showed that he's a good prospect. So I love that pick for the Oilers. I thought that was a really smart pick at the time. And last year, we obviously didn't get to see what he's able to do, but I did think he was good before the injury.
Yeah. A couple other names on here that just stand out to me, just because, again, like, I'm not a guy who watches a lot of junior hockey, and that's obviously why we bring on the experts like you. But I'm looking at James Steffen, 50 goals in 67 games in the OHL. You mentioned Dalen Wakely as a name. I've heard a little bit of fanfare over a guy like Frankie Morelli, a bit of an undersized but left shot defenseman who played with Ottawa in the OHL last year. I know you did kind of hit on a few, but any under the radar name that the people watching this show can maybe keep an eye on at the rookie tournament that you like?
Well, you did mention James Steffen, and he's someone who I'm really happy to see him get an opportunity here. He was an overage player who really had a great season in Portland last year. He had like something 50 goals, over 100 points, which isn't anything incredible for a guy who's, just turned 21. He was 20 last season. But I think the thing with him is that he's always been really creative. Is he a good enough two-way player to play in the NHL? No, but this is someone who I think is going to be able to go to the AHL and impress right away. So I think that's a good sign. Like, I'm surprised he wasn't drafted a few years ago, because he's always been productive. He's just not an all-around style player. And I guess one fun fact, his dad is Patrick Steffen. So, hockey bloodlines there. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he's able to do.
One guy who is not at rookie camp who I wanted to pick your brain about, and it does tie into another one of the great pieces you've been doing over at Daily Faceoff, but you did a ranking of goalie prospects around the league, and the Oilers did have a guy on your list with Olivier Rodrigue coming in at number 25. He was top 10 in save percentage in the American Hockey League last year. I wrote a piece, kind of like 5 roster races I think could play out on the Oilers. And there is like a little part of me with Rodrigue that is like, he's $250K cheaper than Pickard. The Oilers are going to be trying to accrue as much cap space as they can throughout the year. Like, it's obviously the smarter play to have Rodrigue play 35 to 40 times in the American League and have him develop, but he did put up good numbers in the American League last year. He's cheaper. He's not exactly like the youngest guy in the world anymore. What's your read on Rodrigue? And you had him ranked 25th. What's his upside for the Oilers?
I think, this was a situation where if Pickard didn't have any NHL games of experience, that maybe we're talking about a different backup goalie for the second half of that season last year. But I think with Rodrigue, a very big season, he needed that. I think the year before that, he did take a nice step forward, but last year kind of showed like, hey, I could be the number one guy. I can do a lot of things here. And we saw him kind of go neck and neck with Jack Campbell. And one guy was a long-term NHL goalie. One guy has played no games in the NHL. And I'd say the guy who played no NHL games was the more impressive of the two goalies there. So, with goalies, you never know what's going to happen with them. It's probably not great that the best goalie prospect happens to be 24 years old and he's going to be, I think, unrestricted free agent at the end of this year deal, if I'm correct. But you kind of want him to go out there and do something. But I think with what we've seen, he's more than capable of being a good goalie in the AHL. I want to see him at least rewarded and get some opportunities to prove himself in the NHL. He could be one of those guys who just comes out of nowhere and steals the show. Who knows? But, at least you have a guy like that you can rely on in the AHL.
Yeah. Totally. I know you're out in Toronto, and you did write a little bit about the Leafs the other day over at Daily Faceoff. But what do you make of the ads that they're making, and also the Nick Robertson thing? Like, why doesn't he want to be a Leaf? Because I look at him and I look at his numbers, and I look at the Leafs left side depth chart, and I'm like, what's going on there?
It's interesting because for Robertson, I really nice kid, tons of talent. I was always concerned, dating back to his time when he played a little bit in the OJHL and then obviously in the OHL, that this guy was not going to be able to physically handle the pressure of playing in the NHL. And we've seen him get hurt pretty much every single year in his pro career. So, fortunately, that kind of has been the case. I think with him, though, under the previous coaching staff with Sheldon Keefe, it felt like anytime he was playing well, he would get penalized for it. He'd get punished for it. Like I remember the one game he scored a goal and he was playing in the Marlies like 2 days later. So, that's the thing with him. It seems like they just didn't know what they were going to do with him. They even sent him down to the Marlies around the trade deadline there. And I know that wasn't a very popular thing, even though it was more of a paper transaction at that point. I know that it wasn't overly popular. With Robertson, I think he just needs a fresh start somewhere. Even with the lack of depth on that left side, it just seems like they haven't been able to put him in a spot where he can be a reliable player. Like he's not a great defensive player. He's not going to go out there and hit guys. He needs to be in a scoring role, but at times he could be very inconsistent. He's had a couple games where he looks amazing. Other games you don't know he's there, which is why it's interesting they brought in Max Pacioretty. I think with Pacioretty's health issues, an ideal situation is he turns into your third line center, or third line winger. You keep Robertson around, you see what he could do out there, and maybe you have a pretty decent left side at that point. But that's just, it feels like scoring depth is always an issue with that team, and I really don't feel like they've done enough to really address that again this year. And part of that is contracts to Tyler Yaremchuk, contracts to David Kampf that have really made it hard to go and find those cheap scoring options. I have no idea how they're going to fit Pacioretty in there if he ends up signing a deal without trading Nick Robertson. And again, in a perfect world, you're not trading Nick Robertson. So it's kind of a difficult situation for that team once again.
Yeah, never a dull moment around the Toronto Maple Leafs. Steven Ellis from Daily Faceoff. Go to dailyfaceoff.com/author/Steven Ellis, and you can read his top 5 NHL bounce back candidates after suffering sophomore slumps. It's guys heading into their third year. Was a great read. Also a piece on Lane Hudson. Sneaky Calder guy? Too far. I went too far.
I love him. He's one of my favorite prospects, but I feel like he needs to spend some time in the AHL this year.
Fair. All right, Steven. Appreciate you hopping on as always, man.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.